This is a technique build that relies on the Aegis Legion arm and the Booster Glaive blade with the Dancer's Curved Sword handle, and it is a fantastic combination, allowing you to deal heavy damage while maintaining the elegance and flair of a technique build. So let's get into it. I am currently in chapter 8 of the game, and I've been loving it because this build has made it so much fun. Against bosses is incredible, utilizing perfect parries and double slashes to get the damage out that you need, and against normal NPCs in this game, the Aegis Legion arm and weapon combination that we're using are just a ton of fun to use, making you soar through this game. So looking at our weapon here, we're going to be using two separate parts from two separate weapons to make this really fun and effective sword. We're going to be using the Booster Glaive blade, which you can get very early on in the game, and the Dancer's Curved Sword handle, which you get a little bit later, but still early enough to where you can use this effectively. In terms of scaling, it's going to have motivity scaling at D and a technique scaling at A. You are going to be using some cranks to get it up to A, but you can do that nonetheless. Its physical attack right now is 223 plus 135. It is currently at level 8. I believe you can get this a little bit higher, so the attack damage will go up. Charge pulse cells are 12.50, and Fabled Charge is at 566. Its damage reduction rate while you're guarding is 61.71, and the Fable arts you're going to have on this weapon are Storm Slash and Guard Parry. Guard Parry is super helpful because if you can get off that parry window and you can make that happen, you are going to slap back with a ton of damage. You are going to have a slash moveset with this weapon, which means wide horizontal strikes, and your heavy slash is going to be a double cartwheeling slash, allowing you to charge up and get 2 hits off on bosses and NPCs, with the total slash damage of both of those slashes coming out to be around 800. If you want to snag the Booster Glaive blade, you're going to have to go to the Workshop Union entrance Stargazer, and you're going to make your way around until you get to the Puppet of Tomorrow. All you need to do is go down the ladder, run all the way back behind the puppet, and there's going to be a chest on the ground. Grab that chest, and that's going to have the Booster Glaive handle and Booster Glaive blade. Now, to get the other portion of this weapon, the Dancer's Curved Sword handle and Dancer's Curved Sword blade, you're going to head to the Rosa Isabel Street Stargazer and follow it naturally all the way until you get almost to the end of that area. There's going to be a bunch of these guys who are throwing bombs at you. There's going to be a chest behind them, and that's where this is going to be located. Now, as you venture further into the game, you're going to be able to unlock the Aegis Legion arm. I absolutely love this arm. There is a second option as well here that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but the Aegis is phenomenal. It's going to have a motivity and technique scaling of B with a D scaling in advance, and it's going to cause you to pull a shield out on your arm, and when an NPC hits that shield, they are going to explode, allowing you to go up and get your attacks off, and this is a really fun and deadly combo to use in Lies of P. It does work on bosses as well, but the bigger bosses, they do seem to just barrel through the explosion, but the damage does take place nonetheless. The other Legion arm that's a great option for this technique build as well is the Puppet String. I think that is probably the best Legion arm in the entire game, but the reason that I'm using the Aegis currently is because I've just upgraded it to where I can swing while I have the shield out, making it a very much sword and board technique build, which I am really a fan of. Also, real quick, if you guys are not subscribed yet to the channel, feel free to subscribe. I appreciate it a ton. We are almost at 15,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and it's all been within this year, so I'm super pumped about that. If you like Elden Ring content or you like Lies of P content, then this channel is for you. And we're also moving into Lords of the Fallen here in a month, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Click that like button and the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more content. Now let's get back into it. Now, as far as amulets go, I currently only have 2 slots unlocked, but in that first slot is going to be the Life Amulet. This is a very easy amulet to get at the beginning of the game, and it's going to give you a flat HP increase to your max health by 7%. It is really nice quality of life talisman because once you get into this game, you're going to realize that everything hits very hard, and having that extra 7 HP is actually pretty worth it all the way up until pretty much mid-game. If you want to get this amulet, all you're going to need to do is teleport to the inside of the house on Ellison Boulevard Stargazer and run directly behind you. You will have probably previously gotten this before you get this Stargazer, but there will be a giant hulking puppet here, and you just need to grab it out of this chest. Now, for my second amulet slot, I am using the Technique Amulet. This is going to have a weight of 1.7, so not too bad, and it's going to give us +4 Technique, which is going to translate into us having more damage out of this build. Obviously, in this game, having more damage is always a good thing, and this amulet really fills that role. This amulet can be found if you start at the Estella Opera House entrance Stargazer and run in and guide yourself down into a very dark hallway, at which point there's going to be a chest by a broken down pillar. Grab that chest, and inside is going to be the Technique Amulet. Now, as for my defensive parts, there are a few that I'm using, and I'm pretty much using the best ones that I could get currently within where I'm at during Lies of P. My first defensive part is the Lada F250 frame. It's going to be 19.4 when it comes to weight, so it's a little little bit heavy, but it's going to give me the best physical damage reduction for this slot that I can possibly get right now at 28.60. For this particular slot, there are a few other parts that you could potentially use, but like I said, this is the best one that I found for the damage negation that I need, especially as these bosses are getting more difficult, so this one works fine for the build. The next slot is going to be the Belford Superior Insulation Converter. This is once again going to be probably the 5th or 6th one of these that you can get in this slot, and it's the best one, giving me the most damage reduction for all types of damage in this game, so clearly this is the best in slot for what I'm currently using. The next slot is going to be the Arc Disruption Cartridge. Once again, it's going to give me the most physical damage reduction. I believe right now I've found about 7 of these, but like I said, this one is the best in slot right now for what I'm using. It's going to have a physical damage reduction of 2.39, disruption resistance, shock resistance, and break resistance by 170, 81, and 72. So overall, like I said, best in slot for what I've found. There's probably better ones in the game. I just haven't been there yet. And for the last slot, we are using what we originally had in this slot, which is the Workshop Union Certified Liner. This is going to be 3.5 in weight. It's going to give us a lot of slash damage reduction and some pierce damage reduction as well. Other ones can be bought from Palencina, so if you want to go through there and check out which ones would better suit your playstyle for this build, you are more than welcome to do so, but this is currently the one that I'm using. And if I use any different ones, I go from slightly heavy to very heavy, and I lose my medium roll. Now, when it comes to the P organ, I've activated a few of these different slots as I've leveled through the game, and this is currently what I'm using. For my first one, I have added Fable slots. Obviously, having more Fable slots is going to allow you to get your Fable attacks faster. I also have the Link Dodge. This is one of those abilities that allows you to dodge again right after you've dodged very quickly. This is super, super handy, especially coming from Elden Ring, where all I've had to do was dodge. I typically dodge more in this game than I do parry, so this one works really well for me. And then the third one in phase 1 that I'm using is the increased pulse cells. Obviously, having more healing is always going to be a great thing for you, so the more pulse cells you can get, the better off you're going to be. Now, for area number 2, I have the Rising Dodge. This was infuriating not to have. Anytime that I got knocked on the ground and I couldn't get up immediately and roll away, I always died pretty much on cue, so the Rising Dodge is an absolute necessity for this build and for me personally with my playstyle, so I snagged this one. And then the last one that I have in phase 2 is once again the increased pulse cells by 2. Having more pulse cells, getting more healing is going to allow you to last longer against these harder and harder bosses as you get deeper and deeper into the game. And the very last thing I'm going to show you for my build is my abilities and my stats. So as you can see right now, we are rocking a slightly heavy at 78%. I believe if you go over 80 or 81, you get to heavy, so we're right on the cusp of that. For vitality, I have 21, vigor I have 16, capacity I have 15, motivity 14, technique is 34, and advance is 7. The path that I chose at the beginning of the game was the path of the cricket balance. I wanted to do somewhat of a quality build, so to speak, but I ended up going all the way into dexterity and doing a technique build, so I would definitely choose the path of the bastard dexterity in the beginning if you want to rock this build, but if you don't, you're going to have a little bit extra motivity, so just keep that in mind. You won't have the motivity if you choose the path of the bastard, but overall, this has been a really fun build, and it has been really great to go through the game with. I've had minimal problems with bosses, and typically, once I have my parries down, I make short work of them pretty quick. So the order that you're going to want to level up in stats is you want to get that vitality pretty much all the way to 20, because the extra health is going to be really nice for you, and then start going into technique. I've stopped leveling technique right around 34 because I've realized that as I level up technique at this point, I'm only getting +1 physical damage, where I used to get 2 and 3 as I was leveling up until I got to about 34. I'm currently leveling up my vigor because I like to dodge more and I enjoy having more stamina, so I'm leveling that up, and I'll probably take the vitality up to about 30 by the end of the game. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, guys. That's going to be it for this first technique build that I'm doing. As I've said, I am still leveling through the game and I am enjoying it a ton, and this is the build that I'm currently using, so let me know how I can min-max this better down in the comments. I would love to see what you guys are using, and I would also love to hear how you guys are enjoying Lies of P. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you guys can know when I'm making more content. I am going to be pumping out some more of these builds here over the next few weeks, so I hope you guys are ready for that. And if you haven't seen any of my Lies of P content yet, I'm going to leave 2 videos in the description so you guys can go check them out. One is the tips and tricks video, and the other is going to be a boss guide that I just finished that I think you guys are going to get a lot out of. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.